here we are on turn 11. So we've got a lot of Diplo posturing going on this turn. The Tartary and Ermor war continues, and Dogpiles are looked for on a couple of other nations. But let's start with just going through some of the expansions as the last few provinces get expanded into. We've got successful expansions for Ulm. We've got light skirmishing for Tartary and Ermor.
Yeah, I think they're just sort of Tartary's moving outward and Irma's kind of following them, cleaning up the provinces.
Yes, I think that's correct. Not a whole lot of interesting expansion going on. Man won this round.
Oh, the humanity.
Yes. Heavy cav. You really just have to... spearmen are good against any cav, only in theory.
They're good in the sense that you only lose 10 gold when they die to the lance.
Why? Why won't people just put their chariots and hold an attack? I mean, it works because thankfully Aryu has only had to fight absolutely garbage indies, so that the chariots have never been...
Yeah, I'm really concerned when somebody with chariots is going to fight another player who has their infantry on hold and attack, and they're just going to fly in and all die.
We will see how it goes, yes. Hopefully he uses variation in tactics. We have some... the indies are getting a little feisty this turn. Some wolves attacked Ulm.
That's not where I would attack if I were a pack of wolves, but what do I know?
Probably not. I mean, canonically there are supposed to be a lot of wolves in Ulm. So maybe
a lot of dudes in very thick armor, too.
That is true. Some Vine men are attacking Aryu, classic.
Yeah.
Some Etons attacking Uruk. And some Knights actually successfully attacking the nation of Archocephali.
Knights tend to be successful. Knights are no joke.
Let's take a quick look at the score graphs. We have Calum continuing its first place run. Behind them, trailing closely, Tartary.
Let's take a look at income, too.
Oh,
I
yeah.
imagine those two are also at the top, but it's always good to see.
Yeah, actually, yeah. Ind and Calum both managing to get 2 forts. That's
well done.
Sooner than I get. I don't have 2 forts up in turn 11.
I usually do, but I expand pretty hard.
Yeah, it looks like income got...
Tartary, Calum, and is that Man?
Yeah, I think Man has really good scales. Actually, that's interesting because Man has an awake, so maybe we have to take a look at how Man is getting that much money. Maybe they just have some really lucky scales. They managed to get such good income.
Without anyone realizing they're even in the game, yeah. I
think Misfortune 3 helps a lot. Yeah, your income looks a lot higher than it is in Misfortune 3.
True.
Is that a 21,000 gold 21,000 person province in MA?
Wow.
That is insane. Wow, another one, just massive. Okay.
And look, there's another one right above that, the one they just took, that I imagine they'll pick up next turn.
This one, there are some big problems. Oh my God, 15,000.
Oh, wow.
So there are a lot of people around. Yeah, this is a 9,000 person forest. Yeah, this is 8,000.
Incredible.
All right, hey, you need to get some PD. Hey, Man, make some PD. You don't want scouts taking your provinces. Yeah, we should attack Man's province. Gnarly Tooth. You know what you have to do.
Spooky.
That would be hilarious. We should do that. It would be so funny. Do we get it?
You're a monster.
There's no PD anywhere. There's no PD. Oh,
probably
there's no
do
PD
something
in
about
4
that.
provinces. Oh, that's great. Okay. Anyway.
If the Observer Nation can take all your provinces in one turn, that's probably a bad sign.
Probably a bad sign, indeed.
Yeah, it seems like as people run out of indies, everyone in a public Diplo game suddenly wants to make sure they're sort of on the right side of the dog pile.
Absolutely.
And if you go back over to Uruk, right now we saw Caleb make an interesting play saying, hey Ind, hey Pythium, care to join me in a little, adventure? And sort of, Caleb got those 2 on board, and now the 3 of them are looking very aggressively at Uruk, thinking about canceling their NAPs and going in on Uruk soon. So this was perhaps not a huge surprise, given how weird Uruk expanded into provinces that sort of pissed off Pythium and Ind. We'll see if Uruk is able to break up this dogpile sort of before it really gets rolling. or if he's going to get potentially run over by these three.
Yeah, I mean, Pythium's already got their second real fort up, right? So,
Mhm.
and Uruk's
Not a
going to be fighting.
palisade, yeah.
Yeah, it's not even a palisade.
I
So
believe I believe Uruk sort of claimed that forest between them. I think that may also be one of the reasons Pythium is open to trying to get a little more land off Uruk in a
no,
dog
yeah, it's
pile.
funny. If Pythium walks into this forest, they'll find still more indies between them and Uruk.
Yes.
So this would definitely be an invasion trip.
There's a few turns left. I think they have an NAP3, so
Yeah.
we want to hopefully they will have cleaned out the indies on both sides by
Caleb,
then.
on the other hand, with looking at their three forts, they can raid Uruk all day.
Caleb is in a very good place right
Yeah.
now. Sort of on the right side of a dog pile, big expansion. Things are looking good for Caleb. Fort's up.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
Doesn't
And
seem
then
like there's any interest in dogpiling Caleb.
yeah, Ind. You said also, yeah, Ind has been
Yes.
interested in this dog pile.
Yes.
It's a little trickier for Ind because how is Ind going to get land? Maybe
Yeah,
through his two pro.
I don't think Ind is pushing for the cap so much as Ind is trying to pick up those overextended Uruk provinces.
Yeah,
Like
actually,
55 you're
yeah.
highlighting there, or the forest down below.
One question: Did it Necro backed out of this war, didn't he? He in exchange for a province.
There I think there's talk he's talking with Uruk about I think Uruk was going to give him a fort or something if he backed out.
Yeah, that's the case. God, see, this is the problem. We can't.
Yeah. I think there's talk of Uruk, and we'll have to see double check which fort this is, but I think Uruk was maybe saying something about giving in that fort to the bottom.
Hey there. Who's the only human nation who tells Titan pretenders to back off, and they listen?
And
That's right, baby. Who got invited to a dog pile on Uruk and made them give up a fort just to stay out of it?
and
Winning without fighting is the acme of military ability. And what nation is about to have its shiny new forts attacked en masse by flocks of weird birds, as happens every summer?
and
Yeah, probably. Who even knows what this crazy nation does? The only thing I know is there's just one magnificent kingdom of exalted virtue, and that's...
and
We now return you to your regularly scheduled programming.
In exchange for in sitting out of it. Which seems a little weird to me, because if I were Uruk, I'd give that to Pythium, for Pythium to sit out of it, since Ind really can't get to Uruk in any meaningful way if you give that land.
But Uruk is so much more afraid of Ind's troops than of Pythium's.
That is true.
Like those guys with 14 defense and like 26 damage, they are gonna absolutely rip through anything that Uruk can bring out right now.
Yeah, I suppose Ind, as weird as it would be, like a long walk, they could actually walk onto Uruk's cap and slam dunk them. All right, so we'll see what ends up happening with those deals
Yeah,
there.
I'm
This
just gonna
is
pull
sort of
that
not
up.
a finalized product from what I can tell.
Yeah, I would say Uruk's best chance is to catch the, if he can catch the god and army out, he can
Mhm.
force him to some sort of concession.
Or just stall Caleb long enough while still not losing mages that maybe someone else looks at Caleb and says maybe I want to not have Caleb
Well,
take a
that's the
second
thing,
cap.
right? Because who can look at Caleb? Pythium. So Pythium also borders Caleb and then Eriu, and Eriu's border is this province right here. This would how okay they can also go here. So this is an interesting invasion path. So I think Eriu is the only help he's going to get because Pythium is not going to help Caleb likely versus
Well,
but
right now, I mean, if I were Uruk, I'd say what could I give Pythium to get them to switch sides?
yeah, well maybe
That would be a big flip.
clearly the bribe will have to be quite high
Yes.
because Pythium does not want to be fighting Caleb this early. All right, shall we
Nobody
move on to the next
does.
turn?
Sounds good.
All right, another turn. Here we go. Turn 12.
And the
Spring.
Diplo has only gotten spicier.
Yeah, the Tartary Ermor war kind of continues, but the Diplo has gotten even more complicated.
Some people call it a Cold War, because all the Ermorians are dead. Yeah.
Indeed. Oh,
Oh,
here we
oh,
go.
karma has caught up.
Aryu finally faces a menace.
Oh,
No,
why?
no,
Not the tridents.
no! And the chariots
Oh,
go
the
right into the lizard trap. How many
humanity.
times do we have to tell Aryu that is not how you use your chariots?
We've been telling everyone. No one listens to us.
Nobody respects it. This is a sad day in the times of Aryu. Really, really sad.
The mage expansion
Actually,
continues.
Mage Expansion's really good against Lizard Warriors. Turns out these guys die pretty quickly to Blade Winds.
The only thing in the game that dies quickly to Blade Winds.
Yeah, there's not a lot of good stuff. I mean, Barbarians.
Barbs, and lizards.
Yeah,
Those are like the only good things that die to it.
I love watching this KD on these Horse Warriors versus Barbarians.
No, watch that battle though. I believe the tactics kind of made my heart stop for a second. See, like these guys are horse archers. They've got bows. What do you use against barbarians? Normally you would use bows, but these guys just went
You
in.
don't need to in these numbers.
Yeah.
Because what happens if you do bows? What happens is actually that they fire, and then the barbarians will come and like start attacking a few of your guys in the front, and then they'll die. If you have critical mass like this, horse archers are awful in Dominions just because they don't like run backwards, which is what
Right.
traditionally be doing. But I think this is the exactly correct thing to do.
I would have done hold an attack in the back. Then they would have
Oh.
gotten off maybe one round, which would have done a lot to the barbs. And then I agree, you do want them charging in together. Having them on fire would have been a mistake.
Maybe. But anyway, yeah, I mean, the war is currently cold at the moment because all the NEPs everyone made 2 turns ago and then immediately broke are expiring.
Right.
They're really just NEPs to signal, anyway.
Right. I think there's been some talk. I think Tartary. Well, okay. Let's start at the beginning. So a lot of things have happened this turn. Taking a look at Uruk, remind me, they sold that fort off, right?
So Uruk has actually, yes, Uruk has promised this fort to end in exchange for their piece in this deal. However, I mean, I assume that also includes this province, possibly.
It has to be.
I don't actually know if that was explicitly talked about in the Diplo, but this province was province to end. Additionally, they have paid Pythium a considerable sum of money, I think 400 gold total, in order to stay out of the war for one additional turn. They had an NAP3, which Pythium ended, and Uruk paid them a bunch of gold to upgrade it to an NAP4.
Yeah, and I think Uruk was in the process of selling Pythium, another province, for I want to say 300 gold.
It's
And
possible it was 190.
yeah, I think it might have been 190. And then Uruk said, okay, and I'll throw that in instead of, for no additional gold. So he's paying like, I don't know, 700 gold, maybe a little less, for one more turn of Pythium not invading. Which sounds insane to me, because I hate to give gold to people about to invade me, so they can spend it on like troops to invade me with.
Yes, I see here. No, 190 has been sold to 190 has been sold to Pythium.
Okay.
So I assume that means that 7 and 2 will go to end.
Mm-hmm.
So
it's sort of a gamble. I mean, I don't know if he's hoping that. I mean, one strategy might be sort of in those first 2 turns that he's fighting Kalem without Pythium able to intervene. Maybe he's hoping he'll be able to like do a decisive blow and sort of force Kalem to agree to some sort of NAP, and then turn around, and now Pythium is no longer keen on invading. I don't know if you have any other ideas for what he's trying to get at with that deal.
I really don't know. Kalem, I think, is more than capable of invading Uruk by itself.
Yeah, I think Kalem wins the
without
1v1.
Without a fort, without any of these provinces, Uruk spent all their time raiding outlying provinces, so they could not have their infrastructure up in time. You'd like to have seen a fort here completed instead of a fort here, or a fort here or here, right?
I'd like to see a
Um,
fort in Uruk's cap circle. That would have been so much easier to defend against Caleb.
Yeah, maybe here would have been really good. Here would have been really good. These are both high.
Either one,
You
yeah.
know, Uruk does not need a ton of production to make their troops. I think
Although the Sacreds probably take some res, but I can't imagine they're.
it's not enormous. You
It's
do
not
not want
enormous.
like enormous amounts of troops as Uruk. What you want is choke points and well defended infrastructure.
Yeah.
Though would it have mattered if Caleb would have stepped on this province, broken it immediately, stepped on this province? I think in EA, Enku do get bonuses to building forts, but not in MA.
Yeah, and I mean, you do, like, things look pretty bad for Uruk, even a 1v1 against Caleb. But I do wonder, if Uruk can get critical mass of those Sacreds, they're, regen, shock resist, what's the other bless?
It's regen, shock resist, and reinvigoration, perhaps.
That sounds right. You have to wonder, Caleb will have a hard time cracking that without losing a ton of birds. So we could see a game where Uruk is sort of reduced to a couple provinces, but no one can actually get into his cap. I mean, all that could change though. Uruk just has to make one bad battle, lose the Sacreds, and then that's the end for him.
Oh, Uruk has done almost no research, so I think that it's possible Caleb brings lesser water elementals to this battle. Which I
That
think
could
would
do
be
a
very
lot.
good at cracking sacreds. They could also bring some mist spells. They could also bring just, I mean, even lightning bolts, are going to be good here.
If you zap all the non-sacreds, eventually the bird lances will take down the sacreds, I hope.
Yeah. No, it's gonna be very tricky for Uruk to pull out of this
Yeah.
one. But yeah, I mean that's all sort of old news. I think that the real interesting point is that there is now a dog pile being arranged on Tartary.
Yeah, so this was actually kind of a exciting Diplo twist and turn story. So what happened was, I think Ariu and Man got together and were like, hey, we should attack either Arco or Ulm. They talked about it a bit, kind of settled on Arco to some extent. During that process, Arco and Ulm talked to each other and were like, oh my god, we're going to be dogpiled, and sort of made a defensive alliance. Perhaps highlighting why, deciding between two people in a public Diplo game as the target for a dogpile is a little risky. That said, nothing bad seems to have happened to Ariu or Man as a result. It seems like Ulm, Arco, and Man have sort of made a little, tripart alliance or something of the human nations, and are now looking to, as you said, sort of go for Tartary. And of course, Ermor seems on board with that plan. Although I think Tartary has responded by offering Ermor an NAP, so we will see sort of whether Ermor wants to try his luck with a bunch of friends backing him up, or sort of cut his losses.
Yeah, so Ermor is definitely building up some pretty, they've got their Knights of the Unholy Sepulchre there. These guys are good even without a bless.
And they've got they've got 20 extra hit points from
They
the
do,
Undying.
and Undying Pierce Resist Knights are going to go really well against the standard
Yes.
free spawn that they get. But it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough. I think Tartary is definitely dead here unless they figure something out.
I don't know. I'm not sure they're so dead, because they've got that dormant Thunder Weapons God waking up, and I imagine he'll be awake before the NAPs with like Ulm and Man expire.
Oh yeah, it could
And I
be
think it's going to require a lot of skill from Tartary to sort of repel it sort of in a 1v3 without Diplo. But it might be possible for him to just sort of pivot a big pile of 200 horses, including some Thunder Weapons Sacreds around, and beat the Man stack, then go beat the Ulm stack, then go beat the Ermor stack.
Yeah, because I think that Tartary has an ability to mad attack Ermor. So if they just threw all their troops at Ermor would probably die. You could probably crack their cap with this many horsemen. He's got about 200 horsemen here. I think you could crack that cap.
I'm not sure Ahmad is a super credible threat against someone in Ermor's position, which is essentially out of the game unless he gets some very good luck. But I think as Ermor, you have to look at the map here and say, I've got to sort of fight an unequal war to get myself back in the game. So, if I were Ermor, I'd kind of chill for a couple turns, wait to see how the Dogpile shakes out, and then try to join the winning side of it.
Yeah, we'll have to see, because I don't think anyone really is anyone external is coming to the aid against this alliance. So I would say, I think the interesting, we've been talking about who's in these alliances, but I think another interesting point to talk about is now who is not in these alliances, because those are often the most important people.
Yeah, Ind is kind of out in the cold between Ariu and Arco, both of whom have nothing to do.
Yes.
Which is a little bit of a troubling position for Ind.
Yeah, so Ind has pieced out Uruk in exchange for this fort. So what does that leave Ind? Well, there's Ariu up here. There's Calum engaged in that same war. And there's the Entente over here, where, that's probably not something you want to tackle with right now, right? Because if they attacked that, Arco would be fresh. Arco cannot invade Tartary, but Arco can absolutely repel an invasion right now. I think they have that capability.
I don't know. The Arco god is certainly going to be terrifying when it comes out, but it is a prop-based god.
It's true, but it's a lot of prot.
It's a lot of prop, but Ind has a lot of strength. I think it's if you're Arco, Ind is not really the person you want to be fighting.
One small hole in Ind's bless. Ind has a very powerful strength bless, but their troops have 12 and 11 morale and short weapons, so and very little protection. So that means if you are up against an army that can actually repel you reasonably, you are going to take a lot of losses. So I don't think that this would be a good invasion for Ind at the moment, and I think that later in the game, once Arcocephali's magic comes on board, fighting Ind will be quite straightforward.
Yeah, I do wonder, if I were Ind here, I might look at Ariu and say, hey, we're both bored. Arco's still a pretty tempting target.
Mm-hmm. Or perhaps the problem with Arco is then there's this alliance, but maybe, hey...
Yeah, but if the alliance is fighting Tartary, it probably won't turn around.
It's possible.
It's a little risky, I agree.
Yeah. They could also go for Calum here, right?
They
Calum
could.
is this big, person throwing the weight around, but the thing about birds are, they're really good at some things, but if you kind of go in on them, right, they can't actually do anything. They can't. They cannot straight up fight you if you have enough people to stop their raiding. Especially for someone like Ind or Ariu, who have really nicely statted units.
Yeah, birds struggle if you can put enough people into a death ball and shove it at their fort. Apart from hiding inside with birds, repairing the walls, or dumping air elementals on your army. If you can build an army that can survive an air elemental dump, which I believe they both have magic weapons. So
there are no air elementals coming out at this point in the game.
Fair.
Both of these.
At least Ind does.
I think only Ind has magic weapons.
Okay. But Ariu, I think, has shock resist, so pros and cons.
Ariu does have shock resist, correct. So I think these are pretty decent fights for them. I think if I was Calum right here, I would view these two people as my biggest threats. In the near future. I think Ariu is the one who's actually done absolutely nothing except for site search all game.
Which I don't...
In gems.
I'm not against that. I'm a fan of the early site search. I think as an Elven nation, you have to think, could I sort of sit back and let some fights start and then sneak my guys in to clean somebody out suddenly? You don't really want to be the first blow as elves, because then someone will turn around and hit you in the back.
Yeah. All right, cool. I think that's all for this turn.
Yeah.
Shall we roll it again?
Yep.